So we've been following along with really the decline of physical media in gaming on this channel for years now. And it just hasn't been great news in general if you're someone who really likes to collect, to buy physical games, to own them outright. Because as we go along and physical media continues to shrink, I mean, you really do start to lose out on control and ownership versus what these big publishers and platform holders have, of course, available to them. And now we're just seeing, honestly, more and more bad news around physical media and its longevity even beyond this generation. So I wanted to go over that here today as we have some moves from Microsoft that I really think shows what their plans are for their next generation device, and even really just gamers kind of rejecting some of these game keycard releases, with one that really just is like a head scratcher. We'll go over all that today. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. So to start, if we take a look here, this is posted up over on GameSpot, and it's talking about some of the big titles that we have coming in from Microsoft this year. And to be honest, all three of them I'm looking forward to. Like Gears of War Reloaded, I think it's going to be really cool to play through the campaign. I played the multiplayer a bit this weekend for their beta, and it definitely feels like an older multiplayer game from that Xbox 360 era, but I'm sure there are people who will get a kick out of it, and as weird as it sounds, because it is an Xbox 360 game, but also a lot of nostalgia there for them with Gears of War. So that's coming up. We have The Outer Worlds 2, which looks good, although it's coming in hot at that $80 price point that also hasn't gone over great online, but still another big release from Microsoft. And the game out of the three that I'm really looking forward to, Ninja Gaiden 4, because they've shown that a couple of times and it's looked awesome every single time, right? And so we have like Ninja Gaiden, Gears of War, Outer Worlds 2, all falling kind of around that, we'll say that holiday time period, okay, starting at the end of August and then just onward for these three releases. Well, what we're seeing here is that Microsoft is not releasing a physical disc version of any of these games for their Xbox platform, okay? And instead of coming with a physical disc, The Outer Worlds 2 and Ninja Gaiden 4 will only be packaged with a download code in the Xbox Series X and S boxes, and strangely enough, Gears of War Reloaded won't even have that physical option. It's strictly a digital release, except on PS5. So if we go through, we do have box art for it. I know it looks weird, right? It's Gears of War Reloaded, PS5 logo at the top. Now, we saw this sort of leak out a bit early through a retailer online, and it was questionable. We were like, really? There's only going to be a PS5 physical version of Gears of War Reloaded, not an Xbox physical version, which is, again, weird to see this in the first place on PlayStation. Even stranger when you realize that there's only a disc-based version of this game, Gears of War Reloaded, on the PlayStation 5. But again, we can kind of go through here. So we have Ninja Gaiden 4, which that's an awesome looking box art. At this point, I'm just going to get it on the PS5. I just play it on the PS5 Pro and buy the physical edition here. It's Ninja Gaiden. Got to get it on disc, of course. The two of these look correct, right? There's nothing weird going on here. But then I looked at the Outer Worlds 2, and I did notice the bottom. Internet required. So sometimes they'll hide this in these very small badges. It was very similar to Indiana Jones. And what I think is happening here with the Outer Worlds 2, it's kind of a guess because we don't have the game yet. I think this is going to be one of those situations of you get a disc, but you're downloading the majority of the game. All right, it's kind of like their own game key card, really, for that. And we've seen Microsoft do this with things like Indiana Jones. Even before that, they own Activision Blizzard, obviously, but we've had Call of Duty be a key on a disc for a few years now. So it's not necessarily a new thing, but disappointing because the PS5 does support 100 gigabyte Blu-ray discs. The Xbox Series does not. All right, and that does kind of throw them through a loop when it comes to this situation because look how large these games are now. So even though Outer Worlds 2, let's say it does exceed 100 gigabytes, you could do a dual disc release if you really wanted to. We've seen companies do this even to try to make up for those 50 gigabyte discs that we had last generation, like Red Dead Redemption 2 or Final Fantasy 7. They just put them on two Blu-rays, put them in the case, and that was that. And maybe it's just because it was important to them to have a physical disc release that could be played outright day one, but not necessarily the case currently. And there is this kind of this misconception around PlayStation 5 games in general. This one seems to be at this time, the platform that's kind of holding this up the most. I'd say the vast majority of the games do just come on the disc and can be played outright without an interconnection. Just drop it in. Yes, you have to install it, but there isn't a sense of, okay, download like the entire game or even 80% of it or something. That's just not the case with this. So yeah, very, very unfortunate stuff to see this situation. But at least for something like Ninja Gaiden 4, I can get it here. That'll be cool. Get that physical edition of it. So it seems pretty clear to me that Microsoft is moving away from physical games. Go figure. I don't think that's going to surprise anyone necessarily, especially since their big push right now is Game Pass, right? Keeping it digital alongside their subscription service. And let's be real, I bet you that platform right now, looking at it, their physical to digital split, I mean, it's probably 90-10. It's like 90% digital, 10% physical. It might even be even more in favor of digital. I mean, if it was 95-5, they told us that, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I believe it. I mean, there's a lot of people who just go to Game Pass immediately and don't even look at the store necessarily, but then beyond that, don't necessarily look at the physical games on the Xbox. So, yeah, that's why I think next generation for Microsoft, there's probably not going to be physical games. I think they're done with that now. And on top of that, the way that they are kind of framing their next generation system, where it's going to be more about the OS and the UI and it going between all these different platforms because everything's an Xbox. Well, everything can't take an Xbox disc, and that sounds like a confusing mess for the consumer on the retail side, buying an Xbox game in store, but it not potentially working on your Asus Xbox device that they sell. That we get into the point where consoles are being sold by these different companies, or you have an Xbox that you think handheld and the disc isn't going in it. So code in a box, maybe that's their strategy and that's their retail facing product, but definitely not, a game disc that would have the entire game on it. Can't do that. So the other part of this does have to do with the Switch too. We know about these game key cards, of course, that haven't gone over great online. Now, we're not really sure how it's going with mainstream consumers yet because we still need to see some of the MPD results around maybe even a larger release, which we have some stuff coming out around Cyberpunk doing very well, but that's on a 64 gigabyte cartridge. It's all there on the cart. So we had Disgaya 7 Complete Edition. That went up for sale. You can see it here. This is over on Nice America's store. And, I mean, it was cool to hear about that for Disgaea fans, I'm sure. They looked over. They said, oh, cool, it comes with a fan. Got this little figure here and stuff. Nice box. And then they zoom in and they go, wait a minute. Does that say game key card? Yes, it does. So here's my thing with this. Okay, it's $100 for this, right? It's an older game. I mean, it's a complete edition, so it comes with all the stuff, sure. But this is a collector's edition, and it's just, to me, it doesn't make sense to not just go out, get the 64 gigabyte cartridge, and charge more money for it, because you're already targeting, at this point, a consumer base that is very much invested in this game, right? That's the thing. They're already going into it with the mindset of, I'm paying more than $60 or $70, even $80. Like, I'm paying more. It's a collector's edition. All right, maybe it's more than $100. Sure, I really like this guy. I want to get it. Why not just honestly throw that we heard that the 64 gigabyte carts are $16. That's the number going around. Throw the extra $20 on top. If you're a big Disgaea fan, if it's 100 or 120, like you're already kind of there, yeah, okay. And it all comes on the cartridge. All right, that's fine. That's what'll happen. I'll pick it up. Anyway, 100% on the stock meter. So the situation now that we're viewing is that no one is buying this. Now, here's the thing. I started to look through their website just to see how the stock meter plays out. All right. From what I can tell, it ticks down in increments of 25%. So Legend of Heroes Trails Beyond the Horizon is at 50% right now in its stock. R-Type's at 75%. So unless these are like perfectly aligned and it's just a coincidence that it's 25, I think people have probably bought Disgaya 7, okay? It just hasn't sold enough to get down to 75% or something to where it can tick to that 25% increment, okay? Now, again, the game keycard thing for collectors is immediately off-putting, and I see it online everywhere, forums discussing this, on social media, and even, like, myself looking at this, I go, something about that game keycard. I know it is a way for you to sell your game still, even though the game is like 100% digital. It's just, I don't know. It just feels, if it doesn't feel great to buy that still, from a consumer standpoint, from a collector standpoint, anything really. So there you go. I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to really get through to publishers. I like to think it would, to where maybe Nice goes, hey, you know what? Maybe we will opt to make it slightly more expensive, but you get everything on the cartridge. You're targeting that collector base. Okay, sure, they might be annoyed that it's $20 more, but they'll be like, you know what? If it's all in the cart, I'd rather have that than it be a little cheaper and get the game key cartridge. But I'm curious to see what exactly the effect of these game key cards are on buying habits going through the Switch 2 generation. Because when I see a game key card pop up, I do in my mind go, okay, does the digital convenience now outweigh the idea of having some form of plastic that at least allows me to trade these games back and forth or sell them? Not really. Honestly, if it's a game key card, I start to think maybe I will just buy it digitally and just have it loaded up on my SD card or on my Switch 2 internal storage. And, you know, that's just more convenient rather than switching out cartridges at this point. And that's kind of the question I have going forward. Will this just drive more people towards digital purchases in general for the Switch 2? And by the end of the generation, even Nintendo looks around and goes, maybe we should just go all digital. But then again, look at how dependent they were on retail sales for the Switch 2 during its launch. It was massive, and a lot of that had to do with them being able to sell these consoles like crazy in places like Best Buy, Walmart, Target, or GameStop. How interested they're going to be in this when there's no physical games to sell? That's a pretty good question. But let me know what you guys think about this down below, whether it's Microsoft. I mean, look, the writing's been on the wall for them for a while, but really looks like they're moving away from physical media completely. Or Nintendo with these game key cards. How do you feel about a collector's edition for $100 that has a game key card in it? Would you rather it be $10 or $20 more to make sure you get everything on that cartridge, of course, with all of the extras here that come in this complete edition? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.